with the weather. Now let's get the very latest on that changing situation in Thailand, where we've heard from the head of the army, the general, saying that his forces are taking control of the Thai government. Prayuth Chan-o-cha made the announcement after a meeting between the political rivals. They've been in talks over the last 2 days. Martial law was imposed on Tuesday. Let's get the very latest now from Scott Heidler, who's there. And Scott, it looks as though you're outside the Army Club in the centre of Bangkok, and obviously with Thai military behind you.
Yes, actually, that's something that didn't happen. We've been here for hours while this meeting was going on. It lasted about 2.5 hours. There was not a military presence like we're seeing behind me now. And then when that statement happened, we were actually in a press conference room expecting a spokesman from the Army to come out and brief us on what happened in that meeting. We saw some vehicles leave that were escorted by the Army. That kind of raised a red flag. Big rush over to where this press conference room was, and then instead of someone coming and addressing the media, they just pointed to some monitors in that room, and that's when we heard, just like everyone across Thailand and across the world heard, that the government announced that they have taken, the Army had announced that they had taken over the government of this country.
And what sort of change is that going to make in the immediate sense?
In the immediate sense, quite honestly, any kind of negotiation and any kind of direct mapping out of what's going to happen in the future is put on hold. The government now controls, the Army controls everything in the government now. Where these discussions go on, are there going to be still more peace talks? We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen to the leaders of these different groups, the yellow shirts, the red shirts, the government, now the former government. What's going to happen to them? So that's really going to be the big question. The general said that he is doing this for the safety and security of the nation, and that's something that's been used as an excuse for coups right through Thailand's history. And also he said that he was concerned about the factions within the political arena here in Thailand, and we can understand from that that means that there was no compromise given by either side in these 2 days of talks here. Now, obviously, 2 days of talks after 6 months of no compromise from either side, you weren't going to get a big answer in just 2 days of talks. Army General may be saying, okay, I realize this isn't going to go anywhere. I need to control this entire company.
This announcement, you know, a lot of people have been saying if it looks like a coup, it smells like a coup, it is a coup. And not a huge surprise to many people, but has there been any reaction, any adverse reaction to this declaration, if you like, the confirmation, pretty much, of what most people in Thailand must have known already?
Right, yeah, as you said, you know, just since martial law was put into place 3 days ago, there were so many rumors about silent coup, slow coup, a coup by any other color. But as far as the reaction, this happened in the last 25 minutes, and we've been on this Army base, as you can see behind me. They're telling us now that we're going to have to leave very soon, that we haven't gone out to the streets. Now, this is something, again, Thailand has gone through time and time again. There has been a very tense state in this country for the last 6 months. So this is something that most Thais were kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop, if you will. It has done. One thing I need to underline, too, that the Army General said in that statement, that he said, and very much underlined it at the beginning, that any international relations Thailand has with other countries around the world, those are still intact. He made sure to make that statement right up the top when he said that the military, he was flanked by other officers from we know the Navy and the Air Force and possibly the police at this table where he made this statement, again, just in the last 25-30 minutes.
And so that means, of course, now a suspension of all other institutions within Thailand.
Absolutely, yeah. It all comes under the Army now. It is their call. Now we'll have to see how, moving forward, how they organize this. Again, this is something that the Army here is experienced with. There have been many coups here in Thailand, and exactly how they're going to divvy it up, what's going to happen with these ministries, how are they going to operate on a minimal level, as they're saying, international relations are still going to continue, the running of the country still has to continue, so it'll be interesting to see what the Army and the military do to make sure that the ministries are staffed and operating minimally. So that's going to be coming over the next several days, obviously, but now
They're in control. And Scott, what sort of effect is this likely to have then on the rival parties, obviously the red-shirted pro-government sector of the political class, and indeed the yellow-shirted anti-government section?
Well, for the red shirts, the pro-government, this is the biggest blow is to them, because they kept saying that they wanted their democratically elected members who were running this country to stay in office. They're not in office anymore. That's something that the anti-government protesters wanted. They wanted them removed. They wanted a caretaker or an appointed government to go into office before new elections could take place. They wanted reforms. Right now, we've hit the reset button when it comes to the government. So in that sense, the anti-government movement, the yellow shirts, they have a victory, because now the Pew Thai party, who is ruling the country, they are no longer in power. It's the military.
And early days, of course, Scott, we're talking about this announcement having occurred within the hour. But do we have any idea as to whether there is a schedule, whether there's a plan by the military in order to restore democracy and elections within Thailand?
No, there's been no schedule like that mapped out yet. I would imagine that would come down the line. Right now they're saying for safety and security reasons, this is what they had to do. So I'm sure they're going to be focused on that. Any schedule that they put out is going to be about protecting the people of Thailand and making sure. Now, we're not out of the woods when it comes to any kind of violence between these two groups, the pro-government red shirts and the anti-government yellow shirts. There's still potential that could flare up. Obviously, you're going to have much more armed people on the streets to make sure that doesn't happen, to prevent that from happening. But there's still a possibility of that. So I can imagine immediately moving forward, the Army's going to focus on that. And that's the main reason, and they underline that as well in this statement, why they're taking over the government is because they want to make sure that there's a safe and secure Thailand, and that's why they had to take over all entities of this government.
And Scott, when the announcement of military rule was made on Tuesday, it seemed very much that Thai people on both sides of the political divide were pretty sanguine about it. They didn't seem to be terribly upset about it at all.
Yeah, no, when you went out to the streets, just hours after there was the announcement of the imposition of martial law, it was pretty much, for the most part, business as usual. You had some jeeps and some troops stationed throughout the center part, the shopping district of Bangkok, but that was really about it. People went on with their daily lives. Obviously, that's going to change. This is a coup now. How and to what degree that changes, that's going to unfold as we move forward. Like we talk about simple things like school, public transportation. What's going to happen now that the military is in control? Now, because of Thailand's history, there are precedents. This has happened before, so they're probably going to use some of what worked in the past. But moving forward, that's the big thing. The military, when they imposed martial law, they said they wanted to pave a way so these two sides could sit down and discuss and move things forward. Clearly that didn't happen, and it was only 2 days for them to make that decision. Okay, no, that's it. We're coming in. We're concerned about what could happen to the country, so we're going to come in and take over the government.
And Scott, we've talked about the suspension of the institutions in Thailand, but what of the position of the monarchy, a much revered institution in Thailand, and of course one which the military is its main aim is to support?
Right, the military now, and it's been said many, many times that regardless of who's in power or really what strings are being pulled when it comes to different governments and different political parties, exiled politicians, that the army always acts, if you will, as a political party without actually being one, that they have such influence over no matter who's in office. And when you work in its relationship with the royal family and things, so yes, they have been an institution that is at the core of running Thailand for so very long. So when you look at it, when we all wake up tomorrow, Friday morning, how different will Thailand be now that it's being ruled officially and completely by the military moving forward? For a lot of people who live here, it's not something completely new. They've gone through this before. But what's going to be very curious is to see what they're going to do to try to pave the way for the future. And this is something that all entities have said, that they want to eventually get back to democracy, eventually hold an election. Anti-government protesters said that they want reform before those elections could take place. That's why they wanted an appointed government, an appointed prime minister. The current government said, yes, we wanted some reforms and then election, but that they were democratically elected, they were going to stay in office until that happens. And that's not going to happen because now it's the army in charge.
Okay, for now, Scott, thank you very much indeed. We'll let you get out and about on the streets of Thailand so that you can actually find out a little bit more as to how people are reacting to the news that the army chief has said that his army is taking control of the Thai government. That news within the last hour or so. Here at Al Jazeera, of course, we'll keep you up to date with every development coming out of Thailand today. So while our team in Thailand is going around and finding out more about that, we're going to Pakistan.